The nodes of fate, the nodes of destiny, the waves of karmic change are about to shift gears and move away from the Aries Libra axis that we've been living through for a couple of years. And starting in January, those nodes slide away from Aries Libra and go into the signs of Virgo and Pisces. And that is going to be a big change for all of us in our own lives individually, and certainly for the world at large, benefiting certain countries and others not, and in our own lives, benefiting us in various ways. When the nodes of fate shift signs every 18 and a half years, a new area of your life is up for karmic renewal. You might want to know when these last happened in the Aries North Node. Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node story. It happened back in 1968 to 70, 1987 to 89, and it's back, and 2006 to 2008. So those, I'll repeat those later, but those time patterns are back again. And if you're new to this kind of astrology, what am I doing here and who am I? I'm going to talk about your sun, moon, and rising. I'm Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac, the whole sign house system. Love those fixed stars and minor asteroids. Helps you time your best life. And speaking about timing your best life, I have my 2025 All Signs Bundle or individual videos on pre-sale right now, delivered to your inbox on November 17th, up to 2 hours long each with PDF guidebooks. Check the description box below for more information on how to grab that pre-sale price. It's very affordable. It will not be back. And it ends November 15th, the sale. Okay, so look, guys, I'm laughing because I had to start the whole recording over again because I paused it and forgot to restart it. So that's typical of me. I'm dressed like diamonds are a girl's best friend. I've got my clutching my pearls and I've got my moonstone bracelet, etc. on. By the way, Otter Spirit, check my description box below. These are astrologically aligned gemstones and I'm affiliate with them because I love their work. So you get a discount code if you buy it from Otter Spirit with me. So that's down below in my description box. I'm dressed like a girl's best friend because where the eclipses are happening, the North Node is moving through the sign of Pisces. That's the sign of Venus's exaltation. And because Venus is even going to retrograde in the sign of Pisces in the spring during her retrograde through the Aries and the Pisces axis are pieces of the sky, I thought we'd honor Venus during this video. I also want this to be a useful, productive, proactive, and helpful piece of information for you. What we're covering today, including some charts you can screenshot, is how you can use this wave or river of destined change that is inevitable, because eclipses are soul contracts with reality. You are here to make changes in your life, end of story. And you already agreed to them. And you do a renewal and a reboot every 18 and a half years in one particular sign of 12 zodiacal signs in your sky. These signs correspond to 12 houses, 12 signs. Please use the whole sign house system. It will be the most useful for you. Please check my description box below, go down to the freebies and download the meanings of the 12 houses PDF and my video tutorial on how to cast your own chart in whole sign houses. You will need a birth time. And energetically speaking, when I see waves of rivers of change going through my life, and now I'm 62, I can really get the lay of the land. I make comparisons to the past. I connect the dots. So I want you to, again, to write down these dates, okay? Just get a pen, get a paper, get your thumbs on your device. Get ready for the timing, right? 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008. Were the times that we had these eclipses occurring in that part of our sky. When I talk about each of these, it's like the fall of 68, the fall of 87, the fall of 2006, right? And then it goes into the nugget of it, like, all of 2007, for instance, and then tapering down and out the other end in 2008. Because it is not a 2-year cycle, it's an 18-month cycle. Now I'm going to show you a chart and I hope you're going to screenshot this. Okay. I really do, because I made it for you. And there's some data missing here because I wanted to fit it into the size of this box. All right. But know that I will describe what's missing as well. So the Pisces Virgo eclipses, we had our first eclipse September 18th at 25 Pisces. But as you might know, the node of fate was still not ready for this. The node of fate was not in Pisces. The node of fate, North Node of Destiny, North Node Rahu, another name for the North Node, which is where the eclipses happen. The North Node, South Node are math points in the sky, but they're very powerful. It was September 18th, 25-degree Pisces lunar eclipse with the node of fate still in the sign of Aries next door, the sign next door. And then on March the 14th of 2025 at 23 Virgo, now we have an eclipse in which, no, it's all in, man. I mean, the North Node is there. I believe that one is a total lunar eclipse, if memory serves me. And the North Node is really close to the moon and the sun. And so basically, full moon in this case, a full moon eclipse. So the full moon is close to the node of fate in Pisces at 23 Virgo, and this is a big deal. I do believe it is a total eclipse. On March the 29th of 2025, we move away from that because now we have the last Aries eclipse. The first one was in April of 23, the next one was in April of 24, and the last Aries eclipse is March the 29th in 2025. You know, this is a complicated one too, because it's like a hybrid. We have the eclipse still in Aries, big changes, last gasp of change for the Aries folk out there. But it is also an eclipse that contains the node in Pisces. So there is a Piscean quality to the Aryan change that's going on March the 29th, 2025. September the 7th, we have a Pisces 15-degree a lunar eclipse, and September 21st, a Virgo 28-degree solar eclipse. It's Virgo season in the fall. Remember that. This is a new moon eclipse. Solar eclipses are new moons. Then in March 3rd of 2026, we have a 12-degree Virgo eclipse. It is lunar. And then in August of 2026, we do have one more Pisces eclipse already. It is a Pisces eclipse. It is lunar, but it is also very weak, very, very weak compared to the other ones, only because the node of fate in August of 2026 has moved out of the sign, okay? Completely gone out of the sign of Pisces. So when are the nodes of fate? Exactly in the signs of Pisces and exactly in the signs, of Virgo, because they're always opposite each other. These are your dates: January the 12th of 2025 to July the 27th of 2026. So between January 12th of 25 and July 27th of 2026, the node of river of destined change, the nodes are making a river of change through the whole sign Pisces, whole sign Virgo part of your sky. Who's impacted? Who's impacted? We all are impacted. Who's impacted the most is really what matters. Certainly, obviously, if you're a Pisces sun, moon, or rising, you are in the thick of it. It is like, holy man, you Pisces and you Virgos are going through big changes. You're not alone. Other Virgos and Pisces are doing it too, and you've done it before: 68 to 70, 87 to 89, 2006 to 2008. Because it's North Node Pisces change, it is the Pisces folk who are expanding and grasping for worldly success, and the Virgos are letting go and releasing and deepening into their spirituality. For the South Node is that part of our lives that anchors us more deeply in the quality of surrender, spiritual liberation. It's like you don't need to play the game like Cypher in the Matrix. He went back for the steak, cigar, and wine in the movie The Matrix. But so that is like, I want the worldly game. I want to be in the Matrix. I want to try all this stuff. I want to get down with my pleasures and my worldly success, even if it's not real, even if it doesn't really, it's an illusion, the Maya, the Leela, the play of God, the simulation. The South Node reminds us it's a simulation. Okay. It's where we flush things down the toilet, where we have to let go all the things we thought we wanted. It's snips, ends things that we don't need anymore. So that's the environment under which Virgos will find themselves. The signs that are very active, of course, are the Pisces, are the Virgos, but also the angular signs to them. These are called the mutable signs, and that requires you as Geminis and Sagittariuses to pay attention, because you are also in the crosshairs of these eclipses. It's like this, okay? The eclipses are happening on this axis. You're up and down, and it's like, these winds of change over there in Pisces, Virgo, they're pressuring me. It's like the wheel of fortune is spinning for you as well. So Gemini, sun, moon, and rising too are feeling it. By the way, people always ask me what to focus on. So let me explain that to you here. Your sun is your eternal essence and your discriminating intelligence and the part of you that is eternal. You can consider it the game player in the game of life, like a simulation, whereas the ascendant is your avatar, the character that you're playing. If you were an actor, that's your sun, and the role you play is your ascendant. You'll often look like your ascendant too. Ascendants have appearances. It's the body and the character. When you took your first breath of life up upon being born, someone took a timestamp of that, and that's the Eastern horizon line at the time of birth, and it represents the hour marker of birth, and it represents your character. The moon can be your animating force, the thing that enlivens the body. It can be your emotions as well. But, you know, often when you're listening for moon storylines, you're listening for things to do also with the home. And solar storylines or sun stuff can be about purpose and career. The raison d'etre for being incarnated, right? But your character that does it all is the rising sign. So I find that when I listen to both, I get a lot out of it. I find that the older I get, the more solar oriented I get. I seem to be living more from the solar energy of my chart. You know you best. You try listening for rising sign and solar. I think you'll find most of the time both of them are useful. And the moon sign can be more like, oh, this is how I feel about the events of my life unfolding. So one thing I want to also mention, two other things, all right? Because everyone asks me this every time I do these videos. And I'll put a link to my Aries Libra version of this that I put out 2 years ago. It's still useful. We still have one Aries eclipse. And you can look back in hindsight and see if it was true and if what I said worked for you or not, okay? But hello, the other thing I need to mention is what happens if you're born with your North Node in Pisces and born with your South Node in Virgo. Then you, independent of any other factor, are in the middle of a full nodal return that happens every 18 and a half years. Yes, from 68 to 70, 87 to 89, 2006 to 2008. It's back. It doesn't matter what your rising sign, sun, and moon are, because these particular placements are going through a house in your chart, two houses, across from each other on an axis of the chart. And those houses and their meanings are highly activated. And if you got really sophisticated in your astrology, then the ruling planets of those houses are highly activated during the next 18 months. Okay. Something else I've been asked before is, what if my midheaven is in the line of these eclipses? What if I have my midheaven, my high noon of my chart, my MC, sitting in Pisces, or my IC, the Immium Coli, the bottom of the chart, the midnight hour? They're always opposite each other, sitting in Virgo. Well, that matters, absolutely matters. And if you're using the whole sign house system, then you could have your midheaven floating, depending on time of birth, like season of birth and latitude, anywhere from the 7th house to the 12th house. So therefore, unlike Placidus, which always makes the midheaven the cusp boundary of the 10th house, the nuance of whole sign houses and the ancient tradition is worth your consideration. Go down below, cast your chart in whole sign houses. It's in my freebie. Because ultimately, where you have the midheaven, the vault of heaven, is where your career is and your purpose. And it's the light of the sky, top of the sky. It's where you knock, knock, knock on heaven's door. And ultimately, that's going to be a very meaningful place for you when eclipses move through the sign of and the house of the midheaven, independent of 10th house meanings. And I can't nuance that for you here, but I can only give you general 10th house delineations, which is a general meaning of career and purpose, but we all have a specific floating midheaven somewhere in the chart. Half nodal returns. I almost forgot to mention. What if your South Node is in Pisces natally, and your North Node is in Virgo? It's a half nodal return or a reverse nodal return. It's kind of like the striving, grasping, worldly success part of your sky. Let's say you have the North Node in the sign of Virgo. Now along comes the South Node. It's a spiritual wisdom, truth, let go. Snip, snip, cut, cut, and end. I love an astrologer who said gobble, gobble for the North Node. And I'm going to have him on my channel sometime. Gobble, gobble, Vedic, mostly. Gobble, gobble for the North Node, and South Node is snip, snip. So all of a sudden, gobble, gobble, who wants to strive and grasp for worldly success in Virgo, in your chart, North Node at birth, is now being softened, tempered, and sort of qualified by a deeper spiritual wisdom. I think that the half nodal returns, in my experience, are less turbulent than the full-on full nodal returns, where Rahu on Rahu and all of that intensifies the striving of what we're trying to aim for. So to repeat myself again, do you have your Pisces North Node natally, South Node in Virgo, full nodal return? Do you have your South Node in the sign of Pisces and your North Node in the sign of Virgo, half nodal return? They happen to occur, all these returns, on an 18-year cycle. 18 and a half year cycle. All righty. I hope you guys had a chance to screenshot what I showed you earlier. Before I go to the all signs, here you go one more time. While you guys are screenshotting this, let me say a couple world politics things. This, unlike many and almost all of my videos, is really light on world politics relational to the nodal cycle, because I don't know what this nodal cycle will do, but I can tell you some general ideas. Kamala Harris has her 10th house of career and reputation up in the sign of Pisces, 10th house. This is going to activate, and her midheaven is there as well at like 0 or 1 degree of Pisces. This is going to highly activate Kamala Harris's success because it increases her success. Increase, volume up, North Node. All right, decrease, South Node, time home alone with hubby, and bottom, and whatever else she does, home alone. Anyway, I won't go there. And in 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008, she was having a movement of the North Node over her midheaven. And she experienced in 87 to 89 and 2006 to 2008 career increases and successes. Also, the nation of, unfortunately, Lebanon has a rising sign of Virgo. South Node is going through here like it did 68 to 70, 87 to 89, and 2006 to 2008. That nation had a horrible time. I just couldn't tell you all the bad things that happened, okay, with war with its neighbors, regime change operations by the nation of Ai in the Middle East upon Lebanon, creating civil strife, discord, civil conflict. It has never been a good time for Lebanon when as a Virgo rising, the South Node has gone through the country's ascendant. So unfortunately, the situation does not look like it's going to get any better. Okay. And for an example, although we are not here yet, there is an early Aquarius eclipse coming up in February of 2026. It's a little bit like a teaser eclipse, and then the full-on eclipses begin to emerge in the late summer of 2026 in the sign of Aquarius, and that is the sign of the rising sign of the nation of China. That will increase China's success. Its North Node, Rahu, volume up, amplification over China's identity, with Pluto moving through Aquarius to boot. So we can count on that BRICS nation stuff and the SWIFT, getting out of the SWIFT banking system and the de-dollaring of trade currencies probably happening. Is it pretty well guaranteed that China will increase its power in the new eclipse cycle that teases us up a bit in an early Aquarius eclipse in February of 2026. The point of that is you can use these cycles of eclipses to make assumptions about world events as well as your own life. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and do your sign. I am going to cover the broad brush strokes. I'm not going to go into like excessive detail. I just want you to be ready for what has already been lightly emerging with September 18th Pisces eclipse, but will be on full form, grandstand full form, starting on January the 12th next year, when the node slips into Pisces, North Node. And the South Node slips into Virgo. And this continues to go through your sky through to July 27, 2026. One question I always get is, what if I have a planets in this part of the sky? Like, what if Venus or Jupiter or Saturn's in Pisces, or what if, Mercury and, my moon are in Virgo? Well, for deep dive astrology, for sophisticated levels of astrology, you would look to the houses, the planet rules in your whole sign houses, by the way. The planets you have in Pisces and the planets you have in Virgo rule houses in your chart. Okay. And if it's a Jupiter, it rules Pisces, right? Jupiter. So yeah, Jupiter and Pisces, you're very strong, but Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius. Those are two houses in your chart. Venus rules Taurus and Libra. Those are two houses in your chart. Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini, two houses in your chart, whole sign houses chart in your chart. Okay, you're getting it right. Saturn rules Aquarius and Capricorn, two whole sign houses. Leo Sun rules Leo and Moon rules Cancer, two whole sign houses. This would indicate eclipses moving through a place where these planets reside in your chart will impact those other houses as well, like a reverb or collateral benefits or collateral damage to some of the other houses and the meanings of those houses. So that's more sophisticated astrology. That's what an astrologer would be working on with you, especially if any of the eclipses were conjunct one of those natal planets, not just in the same house, not just co-present, but any of these eclipses landed on that planet. That's why I gave you the chart with the degrees that you can look at. Now we're going to go ahead and do your sign. And we are starting, yes, with Aries. I know I should start with Pisces. I get it. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll break tradition and I will start with Pisces. Why the hell not? All right, guys, here we go. This is the big show. Just had a chocolate break. Couldn't help myself. All right. Oops. I need to cue that for Aries, but that'll take a second. And at least I'm on the right date. All right. It is on the 12th that the nodes change, but the exact day is not going to matter. It's not like that is the thing you should be paying attention to. Oh my goodness gracious. Give me a minute. I'm having what I would call software glitches. I thought I had it queued. That's not spinning. There we go. Now, Aries. No, I'm starting with Pisces. I'm breaking the rules. Pisces, you're in the thick of it. Oh, welcome, Pisces, to your story. My goodness gracious. Well, don't forget you've had a node of destined change. I hope you listened to the intro because I hate repeating myself, but you had a node of destined change from 68 to 70, 1987 to 89, and 2006 to 2008. So compare notes through this part of your chart that is you. You are Pisces and you are experiencing sun, moon, or rising, a north node amplification of your destiny. And it's going to unfold for 18 months through to July of 26. This change wave, right, coming through the sky is connected to the expansion of your identity. It is voluming up your identity. It is intensifying the existential crisis of being alive or the blessing thereof. You are expanding. You are getting bigger. You are expanding your sense of self. Something about your identity is expanding, not physically necessarily, but in your way of understanding who you are and what you want in life. You can see that you do have the North Node coming into contact with at the time of the ingress in January. The sign is very full at the time with a Venus in her. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. I love my clutching my pearls. Venus is in the sign of her exaltation, and Saturn is here for enduring, lasting love, and Neptune. And because this is the ingress chart on January 12th, when the node ingresses, then there's usually something symbolic about it. Like this is the tone and quality of what is keynote, like a pitch pipe. How are you going to be more wise and beautiful, true and knowing? How are you going to work with money and love with perseverance? A conjunction can be a fusion of higher spiritual values that Venus has for you with the nuts and bolts of a realistic life. And having the backbone of sober-minded realism met with the higher spiritual values of exalted Venus. And Venus exaltation energy, she's highly noble about love. It's not any old love. It's looking for like the divine love, the higher love, the true love, the beloved within herself, within life itself. There's this beautiful spiritual vibration for you. And even though it doesn't last, Venus gets out of this house. It's not, she's not there for 18 months, guys. It's kind of the inaugural energy of this ingress. And because you are living into this exaltation of Venus and Neptune, which is like so spiritual and dreamy, and Saturn, let's make my dreams real. Let's make my visions, fantasies, and aspirations and imaginations, Neptune, real and concrete. Saturn, Venus is adding and beautiful and true and spiritually awake and aware. Venus is definitely a strong part of this ingress for you. You might also notice that you're being asked to let go of matters to do, perhaps with the seventh house. This can soften you a lot regarding the way you approach relationship. You're no longer so focused on the other, your spouse, a business partner, a client, or some significant partner in life. The seventh house, you're like letting the south node drain it out, down the drain, let it go. Snip, snip. And sometimes I'm going to tell you, Pisces, that if you're in a long-term committed love relationships, that I see it with my clients, a South Node transit for existing long-term love relationships challenges the relationship on an every 18-year cycle. So you're back to being challenged in a long-term love relationship if it's longer than 18 years, but every 18 years, South Node goes through here, and every 18 years, that relationship feels like it's going down the toilet. So you might be very careful, cautious, and notice what's going on. What's the remedy? Go to church with your partner, deepen your spiritual path, get your tantric union down, find the depth of spiritual soulfulness in the relationship. If you're a single Pisces, then you're often going to meet somebody who's a destined partner, a fated intersection, a soulmate of some kind, a karma mate, someone you feel like you've known before. So you'll find the South Node transit here could indicate also a higher love, not just any old partner, but because of Venus's exaltation in Pisces, a more intensely beautiful relationship than you're used to, something that's a little bit more like Bring Me a Higher Love by Stevie Wonder. So single Pisces can get mated to soulmate partners during the next 18 months, starting from the January ingress. When I look at this chart and think about what Jupiter would want for you as the ruler of the ingress at the time of the ingress, he's all about your home, your nest, right? And it would be you like wanting to bring love into the home, to nest in the home, to be joyful and prosperous in the home through steadfast hard work and discipline, Saturn, Venus, to have a soulmate relationship involving cohabitating and co-nesting with bounteous home and fruitful home and joyful home. These are thoughts I have anyway about the way this ingress is looking for you. Now, just because I have my heat blaring in here, I'm going to have to turn down. Let me finish you first because I'm on a roll. Also, you can compare notes. I want you to do that. I gave the dates before. It's always different. The last time this happened in 2006 to 2008, you did not have Neptune here, right? He didn't arrive to 2011. So this dreamy vibe isn't here. You didn't have Saturn here during the ingress. So it's got a whole different feeling for you. It's not the same old exactly as 2006 to 8 or 87 to 89, right? Or 68 to 70. There are variables in play that are profoundly not the same. The biggest one being Saturn's co-presence here. He's only in this part of the sky every 30 years. That's where your sober-minded realism and backbone is really strong for you right now through to February of 2026. So the node will touch down with Saturn. We haven't seen that since 1877 in the sign of you. South node, a north node with Saturn, and I'll be bringing that up in a world video soon because it's very important for our upcoming election, but the United States upcoming election. But for you, it's like, wow, a once in a lifetime Saturn north node energy in the sign of you. Wow. So again, I delineated how to listen for sun, moon versus rising, but certainly you rising Pisces, a game-changing transit here. And Saturn is in the sign of the spiritual transcendent, compassionate, mystical, and magical sign of Pisces, and doesn't necessarily have its most easy time there. But I think when I see this transit, you're going to bring some kind of time release, karmatic, Saturn, Lord of time and karma, breakthrough into your life in the next 18 months after this January transit that is like unlike anything you've ever seen before. And the thing that's different isn't your job, your husband, your house, although they can change. Yes, your 10th house job can change, your 4th house home can change, your relationships can change, but it's inside out. Go within or go without. It's something inside of you that is radically different and new because you've never had Saturn meet the North Node in Pisces in your sign in this lifetime. So it's a radical redefinition of yourself in some way that you have never known. Saturn brings sage-like wisdom, authority, maturity, discipline, a kind of sober realism. And this new you is expanding over the next 18 months. All right, now, I'm just stopping the share for 5 seconds to grab water and turn the heat down in my house. I can't decide if I'm hot or I'm cold. And then we're going to leave Pisces behind. Get ready, Pisces, to rock and roll through a very rare version of change. If you weren't alive in 1877, you're not going to know what it means for North Node on Saturn in your sign. Okay, so let's keep going and talk about the Aries next. I cannot believe I broke my rule of Aries first. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. I have a Aries, sun, and moon, so I connect to this one. I'll, maybe use me as an example if I have anything to offer you. But I will say I got some really bad trash talking, or people were unhappy that I talk about myself when it's an Aquarius or something. I try to use other people as an example. I don't have enough Pisces to give examples in my life. I do have my sister, we'll see. But, sorry about that. If me talking about me bothers you, oh, well, sorry about that. I'd like to give examples of friends and family so I can elucidate this. Now, it is the Aries part of the sky, and you are Aries, and the North Node in the sign of Pisces has moved on. You've been under the Pisces, the Aries, Libra angles of eclipses ever since. Yes, the eclipses started here first for you in April of 2023 with the first Aries eclipse. And that South Node eventually moved, in July of 2023 into your Libra seventh house. And if any of you were single, you might have met a soulmate. If you were with someone, it would have challenged the relationship to go deeper and be more spiritual. And if you made it through that cycle, you're stronger for it. That said, this cycle also asks to volume up and expand you, the one that's ending now, right? The one with the last eclipse in March, which is really a complication because you'll have the node of fate still in the 12th house. Well, over in the 12th house, well, the eclipse is happening at 9 degrees of Aries on March 29th next spring. That's your last gasp, but you've been through it. You've been expanding, volume up, changing your identity, shifting who you think you are. In fact, Pisces should be talking to Aries because Aries can tell them what it's like to have that North Node eclipse cycle going through their part of the sky. But Aries, when the nodes move into their 12th house and your 6th house, right? North Node 12, 6, you experienced this in 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008. What was going on for you that was about a deeper expansion, volume up of your spiritual path? Because ultimately, the 12th house is about enlightenment, moksha, or liberation from the matrix. It's also connected to foreign places and people and far off lands. It's connected to addictions and self-undoing, the Akashic records, past lives, and to some degree, revenue generated from foreign business and entrepreneurial, or just you work for a foreign company, you do commerce across international borders. Now, all of those meanings that I just delineated have been expanded for you in the past on the dates we outlined, right? This is why you should listen to the intro, and it's back again. It is a time where there is a desire to go deep and to inquire with solitude and isolation what is true in your life. Technically, this is the house of the ashram, the hermit in the cave. It's jails and dungeons and insane asylums and hospitals. And it's very possible that you experience a desire for depth of isolation, for spiritual contemplation or renewal during the prior cycles. Now, 68 to 1970, 87, 89, and 2006 to 2008 were different than this cycle by far. One of the biggest differences is we have Saturn here and Neptune. This indicates that there's something quite different to have the Saturn North Node combination co-joining here happen in 1877. I kind of feel like you might be in a condition here of trying to amplify the depth of your sage-like knowledge and the wise woman and man. I don't mean you have to be a senex, like a crone or a wise old man, but Saturn represents the wisdom of when you're past the stage of being a householder and you want to do your sadhana and quest for spiritual truth and find a guru and get enlightened, right? That's Saturnian storylines. So Saturn is in the house of those things, right? Like, wow. And so now the North Node expands your urge, increases your urge to explore the depths of spiritual wisdom that you're capable of going to, understanding, or reaching for. If you have addictions or self-undoing, it's time to let go. of those addictions. And you probably have done that in other cycles as well, that were this, like I outlined for you, this cycle. The South Node is going through here, your sixth house. The South Node is saying, pay attention to your health. Health challenges that are often karmatic can occur here. I can tell you, I got really sick myself in 2006, 2007, very ill, multiple challenges to my health that all came off of getting giardia, okay, that was undiagnosed, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just saying, watch for your health. Things that happen here can be influencing your physical well-being with the South Node in the sixth house, especially in Virgo, the sign of health. It can be letting go, releasing, surrendering a job or path of work. In 87, 89, I got pregnant and gave up my magazine editing job in New York. Example. Okay, I didn't bore you, but it's just an example. What are you going to let go of? What path of your career are you surrendering? What job or work routine or work habit or work style or work area are you letting go of? And if it's any chance that you have a pet that's elderly, sometimes the South Node through this part of the sky can lead to the passing of a pet, because South Node is surrender, let go, and release. And pets belong, of course, to matters of the sixth house. Domestic animals are there, whereas big free-ranging, elephants and stuff are out there in the 12th house. Karmic debts belong to the sixth, and sometimes we don't even know we have a karmic debt with somebody. In other words, it's subtle. We have to release the debt we owe them. And sometimes this is the house of dating. And if you're a single Aries, you may date people with whom you have karmic debts, and you will release the debts during that cycle. I can only tell you, my 2006 to 8 was full of karmic debt relationships in a serial monogamy area of my life after my marriage. So karmic dating relationships. And also finally, homes that you rent, in particular, rental properties and leases, that has a lot to do with the sixth house. And so some of you may be letting go of a lease, releasing a property that you lease as a landlord or a tenant, either way. Something like that could change. Now, don't forget as well, because it's a long story, this North Node volume up expansion is being governed by Jupiter. And Jupiter sits in the third house. And some of this expansion will have you travel, and likely travel to foreign shores and foreign countries and foreign lands. And I'm just looking at the ingress, right? When it first happens, where is everybody sitting? So Jupiter, as the maestro of this beginning of a new direction, can indicate you'll be journeying, traveling quite a lot, or studying or learning abroad, or even just doing a lot of learning and studying, going to school for some reason. This cycle can also, for some Aries, because Mercury is the governor of the South Node, lead to some changes in your career for sure. You can see that Mercury is flowing to the South Node, and that indicates a sort of a baked-in essential vibe of it is indeed not only a job that you may let go of, but an entire career path. Because Mercury is asking you to focus on the 10th house of career and reputation, while the South Node is letting go of the work and job stories as well. So those two areas of change over the 18 months that follow are definitely something to pay attention to. On the off chance that you have physical debt, that you owe money to credit cards, debtors, bank loans, and mortgages, to service the debt is the sixth house. And the South Node could mean the elimination or the letting go of the debt itself. So any kind of debt that may have bogged you down may be releasable over the course of the 18-month cycle here. I know I'm going to bore you with my examples. I know this. I know people are going to be really mad at me, but I let go of some debt I had in the 2006 to 2008 cycle for the sale of a property that made me temporarily quite rich. So keep that in mind too. You may be able to come into money that helps you release debt over the course of this next cycle of 18 months. Yes, again, from January of 2025 to July of 2026. Moving on. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. You are looking at a cycle of eclipses again, North Node in your 11th house, South Node in your 5th house, that you experienced in the following historical timeframes: 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008. It's back. You're making some changes. Big shifts are happening here. What's shifting? You want to expand, volume up, increase, and strive for success in the house of career gains. These are the gains of the 10th from the 11th. Therefore, money, reputation, influence, social influence, larger groups of friends, destined, fated new friendships coming into your life, good things coming from the sibling, one older than you, that expand your reality. Don't forget, the North Node up here is also with Saturn and Neptune in a rare way. We haven't seen that combination in any of the other times I gave you. And so with Saturn up here, the indication would be something along the lines of how you are being much more serious and constrained and stable around matters to do with the groups of friends you belong to, stabilizing career gains and earnings if necessary, being more circumspect about the kinds of friends that you want, because Saturn is kind of like the constrainer or the boundary guy, and you may be very much more realistic, wise, and sage-like about the company you keep. And then all of a sudden in comes the North Node. So you'll expand the company you keep. You'll have new friendship circles, greater career gains for sure financially. This is the house of good spirit. It brings lots of reward, including pennies from heaven. But you're definitely feeling this growth and this growth edge here, the striving edge here. Quite often, if you want to be a celebrity, that celebrity status is often in the 11th house, right? Movement makers are here, people who become well known for championing something and having big rallies and people follow them. Donald Trump has a son in the 11th house, and he's famous for his big rallies that he always claims they're really big, right? And because it's what people do with 7th house, 11th house placements, they gather the crowds. And so this is important because Venus is the goddess of celebrity in her exaltation in your 11th. And if you're somebody as a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, especially rising or sun, who experiences their self-perception as potentially being influential, a movement maker, or a celebrity, this could bring you that in a way that you haven't been able to achieve. To be really practical, Neptune rules YouTube, Instagram, Reels, TikTok. You could become a TikTok star because any videography platform is Neptunian. Hollywood, filmography, filming, videography, music are Neptunian. So all of those people involved in careers, like I mentioned, there's a great elevation of potential worldly success, Rahu, in this part of your sky in a way that hasn't happened in other iterations that I've listed in the past. Okay. Destined friends. So new friends, maybe women, maybe elders, Saturn or Venus, but new friends that come into your life, in your social circles, and allies and benefactors, people who wish to support you as if they're a big bro or sis, are going to be highly destined in this cycle, as they would have been destined in 2006 to 2008, 87 to 89, etc. But now we have extra powerful energies with Venus exalted and the Saturn. Jupiter, as the Lord of this part of your sky, by the way, says, I would like you to get more money, more prosperity, and more financial resources from the gains of your career in the 18 months that start off in January of 25 to July of 26. Now, the South Node is let go of the 5th house, surrender, snip, snip. 5th house could be letting go of a romantic partnership, sexual relationship, surrendering or letting go, or less focus on your children if you have them. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to cut off your children, really. I mean, very unlikely. It could happen, but it doesn't mean that. But it means that your focus is more on the outer world career stories than it is on the children that you have. You might be like letting them go off to school now, or off with a nanny, or off with your husband who's Mr. Mom, or whatever, making stuff up. But you just won't be as focused on children if you have children. Now, if you are someone looking to become pregnant, then this will be a soulmate child that can be conceived during the transit of the South Node through the 5th house. If you are single and looking for romantic love, then this 18-month transit of the South Node can bring you a soulmate romantic partner. Mercury is the ruler of the 5th house, and you may have to let go of some creative projects that you are working on, or an entrepreneurial business idea, South Node, 5th house. But with the energy here of Mercury ruling the South Node as it ingresses into the sign of Virgo, you'll notice that Mercury is in the ninth house. Now, that is the house of grandchildren. And it's possible that if you are an older Taurus, you might have a grandchild born to you in the 18 months that follows this ingress, but also matters to do with foreigners, foreign travel, foreign lover, love in a foreign place, activation of learning that you now have a natural talent for. You might go back to school in the 18 months because natural talents are the fifth house and colleges and universities are the ninth house. See how we make it all work? So those are going to be focal points for a lot of Tauruses, going on a pilgrimage, letting go of your children because you say to the kids, hey guys, I mean, hopefully they're half-assed grown up. I'm going off to the pilgrimage to the Camino and I'll see you next year. So those kinds of things can happen here. And soulmate love in a foreign land can happen, right? So keep it all in mind. Those are just some fun possibilities. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, okay, let's get started here. First of all, there are North Node, a volume up, expansion, growth, and worldly success energies going on in your 10th house. The 10th house of career, reputation, social standing. And that includes standings like I'm married, I'm widowed, I'm divorced, I'm separated. It's like your social status in life. And you have these expansions of this part of your chart, Geminis, sun, moon, and rising, back in 1968 to 1970. 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008. So to compare notes, right? This is different because we have Saturn up here, and Saturn connects with the North Node in a way we haven't seen since 1877. So this is important to note that Saturn up here is giving you a new vibe, and so is Neptune, not seen here since, well, Neptune got here in 2011. So what could I say about this? North Node expands, volume up your career, reputation, recognition, accomplishment, and achievements. It does that with Venus, celebrity, Venus, joyful love, higher vibrations, higher spiritual calling, a love of the work you do, being celebrated by others as somehow very exalted in your career, seen as an exalted expert authority. Saturn represents mastery, authority, and expertise. You also could just simply be really at the peak of your career, like a game-changing peak, an unseen peak. You've never been here before. Because what we also know is Saturn is a chronicator. He's a timekeeper. And he's with this very rare combination of planets as the ingress begins. So it timestamps its vibration into the next 18 months. With Neptune, if you have a career involving filmography, storytelling, writing, like writing stories, imagination, videography, Hollywood, music, any kind of art, videography platforms, of course, like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. This is a place of great success and an increase of worldly success for you. I always want to remind people that where the increase is, it pulls away from the South Node, less time at home, less private, cozy, domestic, under the bed sheets time. You're really invested in career expansion, maybe at the cost of time with people in your domestic environment, less time with your spouse, your children, or your roommates. But that's okay because you're okay with this expansion. It's part of the destiny wave that you have contracted for in this lifetime. Jupiter is the ruler. You can say lucky in career with Venus up there, lucky expansion and worldly success. Jupiter is the ruler of the North Node career expansion story. Jupiter is sitting in the house of you. You are lucky. You are magnanimous. You are king or queen of the Olympian mountaintop. You are magnetic. You are generous. You are teacherly. You are guru. You are dispeller of darkness. You get to be all of these things as Jupiter's in the sign of you, sun, moon, or rising. It's usually better to look for your rising, but try all three. And as this is going to be you being Jupiter, and then you're in charge of the 10th house because Jupiter is in the sign that you are. So you are very aligned with Jupiter. And so you are very on board for this. Now, Jupiter is also in the sign of his detriment called exile from the marriage house. There may be a suggestion that your attention to long-term marriage partnerships gets diluted or depleted a bit because Jupiter's really not in the condition. He's not noticing what's going on as well. He's exiled from the marriage house. He's bringing goodness and health and expansion and growth and bounty to you and career, but maybe at the expense of the marriage story. What about Mercury? Mercury's in the 8th house of chunky money, royalty income, ad revenue, matters to do with inheritances and legacy wealth and Banks and loans and mortgages, South Node, fourth house. Some Geminis will sell a property, maybe retire, maybe take out money to become a retired person, just because Mercury is in the house of the assets you live off of, really the kind of money that comes from your 401k, your investments, your stock market portfolios, your retirement plans, your pension plans, etc. And South Node, fourth house could be South Node in the fourth house is not just not time with those in your house, but maybe letting go of a home, changing your homeland or your home, letting go of it. But then Mercury says there's something to do with transactions financially, money from the sale of a home, for example. So those themes may play out for the 18 months ahead for many of you Geminis. And South Node may ask you to let go of family of origin chains that bind you. Literally, the junk of your childhood, the trauma of your childhood, the stories you were told as a kid, the family system structures that bind you. Let go, release, surrender. And with Mercury in the eighth house and Rahu, South Node Ketu in the fourth house, this is also an enlightenment energy. All right. So keep that in mind. It can lead you to a new level of spiritual attainment or release or surrender. Okay, Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is an eclipse cycle in your ninth house of God. You've had this north node expansion of your ninth house and south node depletion of your third house before. It happened in 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008. Now, this is the house of lots of things, so take note. Where you're going for worldly success, expansion and growth, increase, volume up, colleges and campuses and higher educational settings. Matters connected to, I think my Cancer rising sister was in nursing school then and doing straight A's, and then she became a nurse after. So these are examples. So increase of spiritual belief, especially with Neptune up there and exalted Venus, finding a spiritual path, a meditation path, a spiritual discipline, being consumed by a pull to travel to countries foreign from your birthplace, including the possibility of visas and passports being all involved in your what you're doing and what you're considering to do during that window of time. North Node expanding your attention to your dharma, your real calling in life, your true soul's path, your spiritual philosophy, belief, and faith. You could have court cases and legal matters that are requiring a huge degree of attention, but then also with the North Node and maybe an exalted Venus success over the course of the 18 months that follows. If you're an author or a writer, this is a house of publication. So your book publishing is here. North Node, worldly success. With Venus, exalted worldly success, celebrity, goodness gracious. If you're a book publishing type, whether it's traditional publisher, I would go for a traditional publisher because Saturn represents tradition. You could be, the next, what's her name? Louise Hay House hit. So this is the kind of thing that some Cancers are dealing up here. The possibility for this worldly success in the house of publications is big for you guys. If that's a part of your oeuvre of what you do, if it isn't, don't worry. All right. So then if you're in a third marriage, third long-term committed love relationship, then this is going to bless that relationship. For this ninth house is the house of third marriages. First marriages is the house of first marriage. Seventh house is first marriages and second house is second marriages in the tradition I use. With Jupiter ruling the ninth house, a stellium upon the ingress, and what's he say about this whole story anyway? It's his house. When it starts out, he's baking in a story where he is sitting here in the sign of Gemini in his exile, but in your 12th house. So some of this could definitely lead some of you to move to another country, to relocate to a foreign shore, to really re-educate yourself. There's a lot going on when you see Jupiter in the 12th anyway. You want to study, you want to learn, you want to go to school, you want to find a new desire to understand or learn something. You may also get a guru out of this. Yeah, if you never had a guru and you're looking for a spiritual teacher, this is that time for you. Your guru can show up, maybe an exalted, old, wise female woman with Neptune, lives by the seaside and is a great trance state inducer. These are stories, but they could be true. And I think the Jupiter story, from the 12th house is that Jupiter is kind of expanding or showing you what to do or what you should do about self-sabotage, self-undoing. And you could break some serious addictions with this cycle. as well. But applying to the North Node, it may be that you go into some spiritual community in order to break free of some addictive substances. And don't forget, AA is a spiritual community, for example. Now, what about the South Node? It's letting go, releasing, and surrendering. Flushing it down the drain is matters of your third house. So that can be your neighbors and neighborhood. And honestly, it could mean you change neighborhoods. That's all. Goodbye, neighborhood. I'm out of here. Bye, neighbors. I'm moving. I'm getting gone. You may also end relationships or lose the connection to a sibling, one younger than you. It may deplete that relationship. You may also travel, but it's karmic travel, destined travel to places that your soul wants you to go to. South Node in a travel house. South Node is in a learning house, learning things that you already know, remembering them, relearning them. Okay, that's how I felt when I learned Hellenistic astrology. I remembered it. So you are sort of, if you're learning something, it's like you're remembering it. Study becomes like a remembrance again instead of a learning. Anything to do with the third house can also involve matters connected to your daily life, the place you go to, not just the neighbors, but the institutions like the gym, and you're letting go of that as well. A lot of you will change your neighborhood, maybe move your neighborhood, or lose touch or disconnect from certain people in your neighborhood, certain childhood friendships, and even some connections to aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, and all of that, letting it go, releasing it, and it's weakening, right? It's a place of surrender. Mercury says about all that surrender in your third house. Oh, and if you're writing projects, communicating, social media, surrendering and letting go of that as well. But, with Mercury in your seventh house, there's an indication, because he is flowing to the nodal ingress in a trine. There's kind of an indication from Mercury that some of this letting go in the third house can really serve you in your relationships, particularly to a spousal type relationship, or in the way you serve an audience, or in the way you might connect to a business partnership. Those can be increased as you also are letting go of third house matters. But when I talk about letting go of a neighborhood, for example, or connection to your kinfolk in the neighborhood, like cousins and uncles, maybe because of something that's going on through your marriage access point, right? Or your significant relationship. I'm moving because I'm in love with someone who lives in a different neighborhood, maybe a different town. So those stories can happen. If you're a single Cancer, then maybe a move could emerge in the 18 months ahead from a new, very communicative relationship. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. First off, let's talk about the idea of it all. There are eclipses moving through your eighth house of chunky money. You just don't make that money, guys. You share it with others. I'm a shareholder in a company. I have royalty income from ad revenue in YouTube. I have money from a book publishing royalty income. J.K. Rowling has a royalty stellium in her eighth house, whole sign house. She's a trillionaire. So the monies that you share with the publisher, with the ad revenue from YouTube, with your spouse, from inheritances, it's shared resources from your family of origin. All right, that money is the money of the eighth house. You have an increase here. How long do you have the increase? 18 months. It's going to be January of this year through to of 2025 through to July of 26. But you've done this before. Go back and compare the times of increase. 1968 to 70, 1987 to 89. And 2006 to 2008, how has your shared resources with others, including a spouse, increased during this time? So your spouse has an inheritance. Your spouse gets a new job. It's not always all about you. It's money shared with the seventh house person. So those were increases in your financial well-being. It's called you can be highly esteemed by other people in the next 18 months. It can increase how others esteem you. All right. It's also the house of occult mysteries and magic and tarot and numerology. And you may increase your learning, study, interest, or curiosity in these areas of life. But you're growing, expanding, and it's functionally a money house. More investment money, more inheritance money, more, pension plan money. Things are on the increase here. Saturn represents an elder. I'm not going to lie. As the North Node goes in here, Saturn is here and will be here all the way through this cycle. So you could have increased financially through the passing of an elder. It could be an elder parent or an elder, like as in a grandparent or great uncle or something, great aunt. But an elder may pass money on to some of you Leos in the time that follows through this eclipse already. Not eclipse cycle, North Node cycle. Another feature here is Jupiter. Jupiter is in a condition of detriment, exile, but he's not strong, but he's still looking at this whole swoop of stuff in your 8th house upon the ingress of the node. Technically, Jupiter might say something like, I would like to bring you great career gains. I would like to increase your pennies from heaven. I'd like to bring you karmic dividends and cosmic rewards. How's a good spirit? I'd like to bring you allies, benefactors who financially support you. I'd like to bring you money coming through an elder sibling. And in this case, we're talking about the sibling one above you, one older by you, like one older than you. And that could bring great prosperity and wealth to your life over the course of this 18-month cycle. Mercury, the ruler of the South Node, what are you letting go of? Hustle, money, paycheck, earnings, food style changes, letting go of resources that you no longer need, selling resources even. South Node through the 2nd house, so takes our attention away from the basic Maslow hierarchy needs of survival, food, shelter, and water, and propels us into the more sustainable or enriched place of money makes money, or more greater long-range wealth, treasure chests for your end of life, for example, retirement and that. So you're not, like, if you're working and you have a job, you may quit, especially with Uranus in your 10th house. You know, you may suddenly just say, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. This isn't the job for me. You may be languishing in that job, not enjoying it, being drained by it. South Node draining will begin to drain you. Like, so the way you're making money now, and you want to go over the way you create resources and financial wellness in your life, it will start to feel exhausting or draining or depleting over the course of January through to July of 26. And so therefore you may let that go, but not to worry. There's an increase in that chunky money to make up the difference. And with Mercury in the house of work, even though he's flowing to the South Node in the house of earnings, it is about what you let go of regarding the work you do that increases this money up here. Alrighty? So there's a big change around the kinds of things you do for financial well-being and resources that matter here. Mm-hmm. And your work and health routines and the way you make money may be becoming draining or exhausting. Mercury is trying to support newer, better health and work routines. But I really think a lot of you will let go of a line of work or a job or some kind of financial way of making money. Don't forget, Uranus is on Algol, which can be a wealth star in your 10th house of career and reputation. And that's Algol, the star up there with Uranus. You can't see the star, but it's there. And you're definitely, some of you just say, I'm done. I'm done working in like Walmart. I'm done, seeing clients as a therapist are exhausting me, that kind of stuff. And you're just going to move away from that area of work. But see how it worked in the past. How did it work in 2006 and 2008 and all of those other dates? The difference here, of course, Saturn. You've got Saturn and an exalted Venus and Neptune up here. So it's a very different story. In terms of your long-range money, it's very beautiful. It's expanding in a solid, lasting way, exalted, chunky money gains over the course of the 18 months ahead from January of 25. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a story for you that talks to me about your marriage house. No doubt about it. This is like, here comes the bride or the groom. And this is where you commit in relationships, not just to beloved marriage partners, to business partnerships, or the significant connection you have to your audience and marketplace and clients. In a way, it's like 10th house from the 10th, and it's how your career outpictures to the public. Okay. For marriages, which is the most obvious meaning, spousal relationships or long-term committed monogamous stories, there is an increase. There is a destined wave of change. If you are a single Virgo looking for a relationship, a new relationship under this influence can be very destined and very beautiful. Go back to 1968 to 1970, 87 to 89, and 2006 to 2008 to compare notes. This cycle opens up an exalted Venus. This is a higher love, a better love, a deeper love. And if you're already in a relationship with somebody, it increases this relationship's intensity and its desire for soulmate union. That's what Neptune and Venus are. Bring me a higher love, bring me my twin flame, bring me a soulmate. We want this relationship to elevate. And it's what it's trying to do. The North Node amplifies this desire for elevation of success in that relationship that you already have. Certainly, it can also, with Saturn, indicate the relationship wants to be elevated but stabilized. And all Virgos have been going through this Saturn transit through their long-term significant love relationship house ever since March of 2023. And then in January of 2025, we have a new story. The North Node is propelling the destiny factor. Now, North Node doesn't usually break up an existing relationship. It asks a relationship like a root-bound tree or plant to get a bigger pot to grow in. It's a bigger pot. We're going to cohabitate. We're going to get engaged. We're going to get married. This is the classic stuff that happens in my client base when a North Node transit happens through the 7th house. However, we have the exalted Venus for goodness and really solidifying that relationship into an exalted place of love and unconditional love. And Neptune adds to that compassion and unconditional love in a committed, stabilized relationship. If you didn't break up yet during the Saturn transit that started, because Saturn is the hardship, testing whether there's a crack in the foundation of a long-term love story. If you didn't break up yet, this means that in January, there's likely a desire to work with what you got. Love the one you're with. If you're single, when Saturn was traveling through your 7th house since March of 2023, you might have met a partner significantly older or younger by 6 to 7 years, usually older, but it can be either way. And you may also feel like you met somebody who is a backbone for you and is a stable person and somebody that, you feel karmically connected to. All right, now we get the up-level vibes. What about Jupiter? He's the Lord of the increase in the 7th house, and he's in the 10th. It could indicate also for your career that there's an expansion of success through your relationship with your clients, your audience, your public, and your marketplace. This is an exalted up-level. Or that your relationship partnership leads to a wedding, because the 10th house is classically the house of weddings, and Jupiter is the guy who is the legal system. So it looks like some unwed Virgos in relationship may indeed get engaged or wed in the 18 months that follows this cycle. So simple. There's a letting go of yourself. You need to release, surrender, let go, and deepen, because you don't need to be the character anymore. I'm Virgo. I'm picky. I'm detail oriented. I'm mutable. I change my mind when I need to. I have, I'm a virgin, just like a virgin when I want to be. You don't know this about Virgos. Virgos can be very virginal. They can go like without sex. They're the queens and kings of celibacy when they need it. That's a Virgo thing, the virgin. But, you're letting go of that virgin in you, that you're letting go and releasing and surrendering some part of identity, character in the matrix you don't want to hold on to anymore. It's time to release it. You're focused on this dreamy love over there, or the really amazing relationship with your marketplace, public, and audience, or maybe a brand new exalted business partnership that's destined. That's your answer. It's what you're looking at over there. And, South Node is a spiritual transit. If you're not working with it, it will work against you. South Node depletes the physical vitality of the body unless you're working with it. Meditate, okay? Take long walks in nature. Read spiritual books. Get down with your inner spiritual life, because otherwise a South Node transit through the house of the body is energetically difficult on the health of the body. And I've seen it in my clients. I've seen it in my own life. I'm giving you the warning. You need to use it or lose it. You can't just go, I'm in love with my person, or my audience and marketplace are fab, and I'm so happy because I've got my YouTube hits taken off over here and my audience loves me. If you don't have a spiritual root. So K2, South Node, go into the deeper part of your own spiritual path and see what's for you. And honestly, with Uranus up here at the ingress, shocking and surprising, original, inventive. Won't be a church, it'll be something, or a synagogue. It'll be something more on the cutting edge of spiritual, but not religious. But that kind of path can really serve you. Mercury says to the South Node, the spiritual deepening that you're about to do will bring you greater joy and pleasure and enthusiasm and inspiration in your life. And technically, Mercury may also say there could be a bit of an increase in your enjoyment of your romantic and sexual pleasures, Virgin Virgos, because he is also in a sextile to the house of marriage. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, let me know how it goes. I am recording, right? Yes. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, here comes the eclipse cycle that happened back in 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008, when eclipses were happening and the nodes were moving through the sign of Pisces and the sign of Virgo. This is the return. North Node through your sixth house is asking you to increase, amplify, volume up. Worldly success matters to do with your work, your health, and your domestic animals, perhaps karmic debt relationships, perhaps real life debt, not to increase the debt, but sometimes when the North Node goes through here, you might increase debt. And that can happen. It doesn't always happen. But what I'd say is more importantly, what is it in the work you do in the world that's of service to the world? Because we work as servants to pay off our debts karmically. Our karmic eighth house debts are paid in the sixth. And Seva service is here. And so you're amplified to destined work and service directions. Fated stories. Now, if you're single, office romance for sure. Like, come on, exalted Venus, Saturn, structure, Neptune, dreamy. So if you're a single Libra looking for love, when I say office romance, it could be colleague, co-worker space and romance, but it can also be romantic, karmic love, destined love, like fated love, to do with karmic debt love stories. Like you owe someone some karmic debts and they come into your life and you have a beautiful, glowy dating sixth house romantic love story emerge for Libras looking for love. This won't influence you if you're already in a committed love story, although you are healing the long chironic wound about committed love. It doesn't mean that this kicks this out. Your marriage could still stay solid because you've already lived through the North Node eclipse cycle through the house of marriage. So by now, you know if it's make or break. A lot of you have made that decision already. And business partnerships, you may have made or broken, 2023-24 cycle. And energetically, this is about pets. And so, a soulmate pet is a thing. Okay. I'm pretty sure my dog, who's reincarnated twice, is a soulmate. So I'm waiting for the third iteration of my dog, who was Delilah and Leela. So a pet can come through for you that is a deeply profound soulmate, destined animal, right, into your life. So if you're looking for an animal, looking for a pet, and you choose to buy one or receive one or rescue one, then this is a very profound spiritual relationship you have with this domestic animal. Any animal, even a parrot. I had one called Swami, African gray, but I had to rehome the gray when my daughter was born because the African gray was dive bombing my newborn. But pets and domestic creatures that live in your house with you are destined soulmate animals in this eclipse cycle. Did that happen for you in 2026? 2006 to 2008, for example. The difference is Venus and Neptune. This is the soulmate, higher love, exalted love, dreamy love story. Now, rental property. I want to rent a property because I'm going to be a tenant. I'm a landlord. I like to lease up my property. These are matters of the indentured servitude of the sixth house. Therefore, there could be an exalted rental property opportunity that emerges during this eclipse cycle, and you may take advantage of it. And you may live in an exalted rental, or as a landlord, find an exalted tenant for your property. Somebody is a destined person to come into that part of your life. Mostly, I think a lot of you are going to make destined worldly success influences, changes in the work you do in the world, whatever that work is. With the South Node saying, let go of your addictions, let go of your self-sabotaging attitudes, habits, patterns, and behaviors. Let go of the karmic chains that bind you from this life, other lives, your ancestral line, and your childhood. It's a big soul work energy. South Node through the 12th house for 18 months can enliven the spiritual awakening within you. And it's interesting because with Jupiter ruling the North Node expansion, some of you may indeed be moving into a new line of work that activates more spirituality, that includes publishing and book publishing, teaching and educating, professorial things. Some of you may go back to school with Jupiter's position and re-educate yourself for a new job or new professional direction. But the South Node is different. It's where with Mercury's rulership, you're surrendering and releasing and letting go of your childhood, Mercury in the house of childhood, shit, junk, bad stuff, whatever, like my mother said to me that I'd never amount to anything. My dad said money doesn't grow in trees. Unfortunately, I lived in an abusive, toxic childhood home and I'm traumatized. Okay, all of that stuff. It is let go, because the South Node is karmic chains that bind you are being released. Spiritual liberation and full Monty Buddhahood could come your way. And this is Mercury saying it's all goes back to your childhood. It all goes back to the roots of the chart. On a practical note, certainly Mercury could say there's something to do with buying and selling of real estate and property, that the South Node says let go of this and amplify that. So there could be a change of home in the 18 months that follows, and it may connect to karmic changes, destined changes on the axis of 12-6. And finally, Mercury in the fourth house is very much about, the marketing, selling, merchandising features of fourth house Capricorn matters. So if you have a property you wish to purchase or sell, and Mercury is flowing to the North Node in a whole sign way, there's going to be a way for that to happen. You're going to be able to acquire the funding you need or the material resources you need from the eighth house in order to purchase a property, or so some of you to sell a property. So those things may be embedded in these eclipses as well. And even to the point where some of you, South Node through the 12, may choose to move to another country for some time and live in another land. All righty. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Oh, we start with Pisces. Good, because I'm losing my voice. Scorpio. So the cycle of increase and amplification and worldly success is in the house of fertility, pregnancy, conception, entrepreneurial and business success, things to do with your creative and artistic projects. The muse is in your fifth house. And this expansion here happened before in 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008, and it's back again. What could it mean? Well, it's better than it ever was, because Saturn's here with the North Node, not seen since 1877. This is going to mean a great deal, as a conjunction, a great deal of increase is being opened up for you, a great deal of power when it comes to your artistic and creative endeavors, because Saturn says stability, form and structure and legacy and lasting value. And Neptune says dreamy, imaginative, including TikTok, music, filmography, videos, Hollywood, dream makers. And Venus says acting, actresses, music, art, creativity, celebrity, performance. So if you're an artistic Scorpio, gangbusters, yay you. This is going to be an amazing, powerful story. And I'm talking about the ingress, right? The ingress chart is basically as the node ingresses, this is what's going on here. The node is meeting up with a team, and it's a good team. Fertility. If you want to have a child, whether you're a man or a woman, you or your partner can conceive during this transit successfully. And it would be a soulmate child, potentially with Jupiter in the eighth house of death. An ancestral line family member will reincarnate through you. Okay? Or through your partner's line. Partner's line. You share the eighth house with your partner. So once you have a baby on the way, if that's a plan for you, when the baby's under the age of 4, ask questions. The child will just demonstrate characteristics and familiar traits and habits of the one that you think may be reincarnated. And I can attest to that. I've seen it in my own life. And the fifth house is a house of good fortune, and you're amplifying your good fortune, your enjoyment, your success, your inspiration in life. It can be good for money, luck, including winning the lottery. So also, it's not too bad to play the lottery tickets. And with Jupiter in the house of chunky money, including inheritances, there's indications that you could increase your finances through inheritances. And that's what your good fortune is about. But also, you could win money in a lottery. Every now and then it does work. So know your limit, play within it, as our Canadian lottery says. Don't go crazy. But once you get this sort of this ingress here, especially in January when everybody's hanging out, buy a lottery ticket in January after the 12th. And this might be a very lucky ticket, a destined win in January after the 12th of January, just the month of January. We want Venus to still be there. Jupiter in the 8th house can increase your interest in occult mysteries and magic relative to enjoyment, creativity, art, and business, entrepreneurial business. Like, for example, all of a sudden you realize you want to do, jewelry design based on astrological symbols or something like that. Now, what about the South Node, letting go? What are you letting go of? What are you surrendering? Where is the decrease? What's snipping here? There's snipping and decrease around your friendship circles and groups. Well, hey, anyone ever had a baby? You have no time for socializing with your friends unless they all have babies and you're hanging out in a playpen together. So certainly could indicate conception and having a child, because it would indicate a decrease of time with friends up here. Also a decrease in some of your long range goals and visions. You're kind of like letting them go. I always wanted to do this or be that, and I'm going to change them. I'm releasing them. I'm outgrowing my old dreams and goals for my life. Surrender, release, and let go of the greater career gains, less hustle, less focus on making the money, making the success in the career. You're more creative, artistic, you're more conceptual, you're having babies real, birth a baby art project, a baby book, a baby business, than you are like, look at me making money in the top of my sky. A difficulty in a relationship to a sibling, one older, South Node, surrender, release is possible as well. And those are themes of letting go of the 11th house. Mercury is in charge of it as Lord of Virgo, and he's sitting in your 3rd house. That can indicate letting go of friends because of changes in neighborhood, right? Moving to a new neighborhood. Letting go of relationships to a sibling because of a change of neighborhood, that kind of stuff. Mercury ruling things from the 3rd house can indicate a preponderance of creative projects are birthed from the word writing, whether you're writing fiction, writing nonfiction, writing songs. Writing will propel you to creativity and pull you away from social groups and directly your focus on career gains in your life. Those are going to wane a bit during this 18-month cycle. If you are going to conceive a child with Uranus in your 7th house, it could indicate an unexpected or surprising pregnancy as well. So just keep that in mind. When a soul wants to blast through a body, they don't care if you're on an IUD or it's on your timetable. Like, I got pregnant with my son when I was menstruating. Like, when a soul's trying to get in, they'll come in no matter what. So you may be a little shocked or surprised, except I gave you a warning. Like, oh, we're planning to have a baby next year. Next thing you know, it's this year, right? Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. Oh, goodness. 3 more signs to go. We started with Pisces. If you're in the live premiere, hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. This does help the channel grow. Sagittarius, let's go into the story. The eclipses, they're really going to happen here. They're in play in your 4th house of homeland, property, and real estate, domestic life, the house you live in, like the mouse in the house, home alone, midnight hour, family of origin, house of the mother, legacy wealth from family of origin. All right. So all those meanings are there. Increase, volume up, increase of worldly success in this part of the sky. Now, with this cycle, you've been here before, this particular Pisces increased cycle anyway. You've experienced it in 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and in 2006 to 2008. So where have you had increase here in the 4th house storylines during those cycles? However, also, this is extremely different because North Node meets with Neptune, not seen here before in these cycles, and Saturn, not seen here in these cycles. I've iterated, and certainly Venus is there as well. So it's like a stellium of goodness on the ingress that happens in January on the 12th. And don't forget, this is January through to July of 2026. I talked about that in the beginning of the video. It's this 18-month cycle of change. A beautiful new home near the sea with gorgeous art and exalted love connected to lasting and long-lasting home. Saturn, Venus, Neptune is a possibility. Change of home, increase of home, bigger home, larger home, worldly success in and at home, worldly success coming from what you're creating and doing in your home, enduring love and beauty in your home. Saturn, Venus. Your worldly success is being governed here in the home and about land and real estate and property with Jupiter in the 7th house of long-term committed marriage and business partnerships. Your relationships are factoring in here. You may be, in fact, experiencing these increases through the worldly success around luck and home and property and real estate through Jupiter in the house of marriage. Some of you may change your home because of a long-term significant love relationship, but you're expanding into a beautiful home because of it. Now, Jupiter here can't end relationships as much as begin them. He's a god of blessed endings. Oh, what do I mean by a blessed ending? Someone asked me in my comments. It means it's good for everybody. Namaste. It's like, thank God we're out of this relationship. So Jupiter can end a marriage, and this could indicate exalted expansion and changes in your home because of the end of a marriage. And actually, with baking and Mars for spousal resources and assets separating. For some of you, this could indicate a time that begins in January and add 18 months of letting go of a relationship, but benefiting financially and having a beautiful expansion of your home as a result. Okay. The energy for singletons isn't that. It's just something going on here that expands the home. And with Jupiter here, a new relationship, a bounteous, prosperous new person coming in that helps you have better bounty and expansion and growth in and from your home. Ultimately, if you're trying to buy or sell a home, it's going to be auspicious. If you want to move to a new home, it'll be auspicious. It means destined worldly change in the house of the home. And you're all in. You're buying into it. You want this. You're like, I'm down for this. I want a new home, right? So when I had a North Node eclipse cycle moving through this part of my chart, I got a bounteous new home, right? So I just can tell you this stuff is pretty darn predictable. And so there's home increases for you, and Jupiter's participating. He owns your Pisces real estate. This time he's participating here in your 7th house, asking for the interdependence of other people, a significant relationship ending or beginning, participating with this increase, basically participating with it. The other story I want to have for you is, what about the South Node? Are you letting go of a career? Is it time to surrender that career? Reputation. Now, reputation, married, widowed, whatever. Yeah, I tell the world I'm letting go of my marriage. I'm divorced. That kind of thing can happen because you're surrendering a part of your reputation. You're letting it go. It's being snipped up here. But also South Node can let go of an actual path of work and career. And certainly with Uranus here, that is very obviously a radical and shocking and sudden departure from one career and work path into something new, and maybe something you're building in and from your home base building of a new career. If you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, you're finally healing your entrepreneurial wounds. So maybe you're going to start entrepreneurship here for some of you over the course of this new cycle. Mercury is ruling the letting go in the house of earnings. It's pretty clear to me. The earnings financial resources are coming to a close in the way the money you make is made, but it's auspicious because it's a trine energy. And the baked in ingress chart suggests a release and a surrender of the way you've been making money and career and purpose. And you say, oh, I don't have a career. I'm a student or I'm retired. Okay, that point in hand, right? You haven't made any money because you're retired. Maybe you have to stop doing that. Start make some money again. Or you're a student. And of course, your reputation career is I'm a student. You're letting it go. And there's a change because now you're going to step into the Mercury 2nd house workforce. There you go. That's what I've got for you. Oh, house of weddings, the 10th house, South Node, letting go of a wedding. So again, for some of you in difficult long-term love relationships and marriages, they may indeed be coming to an end. Now, if you're with someone, not with someone, that's not true, right? Obviously. 2 more to go. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, at 4:40 p.m. in Vancouver, Canada, you get this one. 44 has been one of my lucky numbers lately. It turns out that you're having an eclipse cycle in your 3rd house that has been here before. Let's talk about the past and then let's talk about the future. 1968 to 1970, 1987 to 1989, and 2006 to 2008, you move through a cycle of change, destined change, wave of change in your 3rd house. It may have destabilized or changed your relationships to your aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, especially the sibling one younger than you, but any sibling in general. And it may have also changed your relationship to neighbors and neighborhood. But because the North Node expands as well, worldly success in work or career through travel, education and learning or teaching, in our modern day, increase of success through websites and social media and writing projects and platforms and just social media platforms, increase of neighbors and neighborhoods and relationships to them, moving on up to the big time into a better neighborhood. That's a possibility. Now, one thing about this version, it's got a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't here before. Number one, Saturn. And so Saturn says stability, increase, legacy, lasting results. Venus says love and beauty and exalted love. And then, of course, Neptune says dreamy, compassionate, and magical. But I'll say if you're a social media person, as a Capricorn rising in particular, that uses online platforms and your YouTube, videography, Instagram Reels, TikTok, and whatever else comes down the pipeline are places of great growth and worldly success for you in this 18-month cycle, January of 26 to July of 20. January 25 to July of 26. Venus is about love and compassion. Saturn is about endurance and stability. Enduring love and compassion and stability, relationships coming into your life through local neighbors, friends, travel. New relationships can be formed here, or a deepening and profound amplification of existing aunts, uncles, cousins, and sibling relationships for the ones that are still like siblings that are, it doesn't matter what age, any sibling, but it is technically the house of the sibling one younger. This stellium is supported, okay, by Jupiter in the sixth house of work and health. Certainly it can mean something to do with the health of a younger sibling and a lot of focus there, hopefully good and improvement. But if it's not that, then it's your work and you're traveling for work, your work is increasing in the social media sphere, your writing projects are on the go and increasing. Jupiter says things to do with your work and health are connected to your expansion and growth in the third house. It looks a lot to me like some of you may really be doing really well in the work story, the job and work story, because you're having some great success from your third house. So, you know, especially if you're involved in any kind of teaching, writing, communicating, marketing, and selling career path, there's going to be an increase of your success in those areas in this 18-month window. The worldly success comes at the expense of the drainage and the toilet flush up here in your ninth house. This is the K2, where you let go of the spiritual surrender, and it revolves around anything but worldly success. Letting go of higher educational goals and achievements, letting go of foreign land travels and visas, letting go of the court and legal matters that seemed to matter at one point to you, letting go of your spiritual faith and belief, letting go of the third marriage if you're in one, not that you have to let go of it, but you may, letting go of things to do with your it's really your spiritual philosophy, you know, how you see the way the meaning of life works. And South Node can deepen it in a way, and you can bring you into a deeper spiritual alignment than you ever had in the house of God. That's true. I have to say that. Your identity may become more spiritually deepened, but also if there's any kind of spiritual philosophy or path that didn't work for you, and you know that it's not working, you're going to let go of that as well, right? And you can see that Mercury rules the South Node, and he's in the house of you, your identity. So you are really forming a new identity by what spiritual path you deepen, especially from past lives. Like you've always felt like you're a whirling dervish from the way you move on the disco floor, and suddenly you become a Sufi, you know, and go down the path of Sufism, because some kind of spiritual path could really be important, but it's soulmatey. It's like, I'm mated to this in another life. I remember this path. I remember when I was a priestess in the mists of Avalon. I remember when I was a druid high priest. I remember when some kind of older spiritual path may return to you as a formidable new identity, thanks to Mercury. And pay attention to your dreams, because if ninth house is like the Asclepium, it's a dream house, and Mercury is the dream messenger. And I think a good deal of you Capricorns will get such guidance and such profound insights through your dreams over the course of the 18 months that follow. Your nocturnal dream life will be very rich and very spiritual and very deep. The idea of yourself can be deepened in a spiritual way. Your identity can change because of this South Node, ninth house of God flow to Mercury in the house of identity, baked in at the ingress, because Mercury is in charge of that South Node. And that's what he's talking about when this South Node enters his house. Your identity changing in alignment with some deeper spiritual wisdom and truth, maybe truth and wisdom you've known in other lives. Practically, if you always wanted to publish books, ninth house, the universe says no, start writing a blog, right? If you always thought you wanted to be a university professor, university says no, teach somebody how to change a tire or become a vocational instructor, right? So there's a pull away from the lofty ivory tower of the ninth house down to the everyday world of the goddess, the third house. Move away from the divine masculine into the divine feminine. All right, finally, I'm done. This is me. I'm Aquarius rising. You Aquarius rising, sun and moon. Here we go. We had a destined change in the house of earnings, resources, and financial matters, and our food and dietary style, what we put in our mouth and our nose. Someone in my comments said I'm wrong that the face is the first house. No, the first house is your body, everything, the whole thing, the body, the character, the personality. They suggested I was wrong. This is your face. This is the throat, the teeth, the mouth, the nose. This is the face in astrology. And a lot of times you have plastic surgery or something, or dental work, you'll see transits through the face. Saturn in the second house, Saturn rules the teeth. You're having dental work done by transit. So just trust me on this. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm telling you what's true, well, in astrology anyway. So changes to your face, changes to your teeth, changes to your dietary style, changes to your earnings and resources. That's the story. You had this in 1968 to 1970. You had this in 1987 to 1989. And you had this North Node transit / eclipse cycle, 2006 to 2008. What was changing in the work earnings story? In 1987 to 89, I'm going to use me as an example. I got pregnant and I quit my editing and my job as an editor in New York City magazine. I started a new career after that completely, right? So it was a change of career. 2006 to 2008, same old thing. I made a career change. All right. It's a long story. I'm not going to go into it, but it definitely career because it's my earnings. How do I make money? And I made changes in those narratives. That's all. It's so simple. It's not complicated. Now, when I look at this story and I think about how Venus and Saturn and Neptune and the North Node are all here, this is a beautiful and rare combination on the ingress. And basically, Saturn will be here throughout this cycle. And Neptune as well leaves in 2026, but is here for most of it and not here for any of the other ones. So you are increasing your earnings, your resources, your financial wellness, worldly success financially, and changes in the way the money comes to you that's destined. Neptune, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or videography, filmmaking, storytelling, screenwriting, Hollywood, music, photography, Neptunian stories. Saturn, discipline, structure, focus. Venus, beauty, love, and art. Now, Venus is about the exaltation of this money and earnings and resources, or food style. I don't know what an exalted Venus food style with Neptune is. Maybe you're going to become a big seafood lover or something like that. But there's definitely the possibility of major changes of dietary style. I'm already on the autoimmune protocol diet. I'll probably never go off of it, more or less. So it's already started because of the September 17th eclipse here. It's already energetically happening. I'm on a very stringent diet that makes all my body's arthritis go away entirely. Autoimmune protocol. Go Google it. So that just indicates it's probably going to continue for me. But what else can happen for us Aquarians? Jupiter is the ruler of this stellium in the house of entrepreneurial businesses, in the house of pregnancy and fertility, in this fifth house of matters to do with creative, artistic, muse-driven projects, romantic as well, love and sexual love. Technically, Jupiter could bring you into a new inspiration around creative projects that you wish to pursue that are going to increase your financial wellness. Jupiter can increase your financial wellness to an expansion of your entrepreneurial business. Jupiter is definitely also in a sign of his exile. So he's very much having to work in the artist studio when he'd rather be leading groups of people up here. So it serves you to understand that the Jupiter power is in the house of your creative projects. Jupiter is also in the house of your children. And if you don't have them, conception of children. Normally, I wouldn't talk about children here, but there may be some exalted financial gain through one of your children. Maybe one of your children gets rich and gives you money. So you can expect financial gain from adult children, not from your piggy bank little ones, but from your adult children, benefiting you and blessing you in your finances in this 18-month window of time. And your voice can be beautiful. Venus exalts your voice. This is a house of speech and throat and voice. And if you have any health problems connected to the throat, like I had thyroiditis here and stuff, this can be very healing with Venus here and may increase your potential for removing throat and voice-based health challenges, but also the more beautiful voice, the more melodious or musical voice, whether it's a literal voice that improves for you. Like I would say a lot of us should take voice. I said to my partner, I should take voice lessons because I'm always talking and I need to liberate my voice box here, but also your vocation, because the word voice is vocare and vocation. So there's an exaltation of vocation and voice as well. So it's a really lovely time frame. And again, you've got comparisons. Nothing is quite like this, right? You have Neptune there, but it's sort of a vibe of 2006 to 2008. Compare notes. A vibe of 87, 89. Compare notes. I mean, these were high levels of career success for me as well. And so, yes, even though I was also transitioning out of them into new directions. All right. What about the South Node? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to surrender? What do you need to release? Well, you're, surrendering eighth house. That's money that you depend on from a spouse, an inheritance, chunky money, money makes money, investment monies. Also a release of debt. If you owe money, like to the mortgage holder or the credit card, surrendering, it means letting go, it means decreasing volume down on debt. So it's a release of debt as you exalt your earnings. That makes sense, doesn't it? A deepening of your psychic abilities, your spiritual path in terms of tarot, occult, magic and mysteries, hermetic wisdom. South Node brings your past lives and these areas of Thoth and the ancients and the wisdoms of the hidden arts into the story. And South Node means remembering, deepening, and re-enlivening, more richness there as well. This is a spiritual transit. South Node is a liberation from the dream and the matrix. South Node through here is divesting of the egoic consciousness. And a lot of the times this transit can lead to episodes of spiritual awakening of some sort, an enlivenment of your spiritual path. With Jupiter in your fifth house, again, pregnancy, conception, and fertility. South Node through the eighth house, past people you've known from other lives or in the family of origin incarnating through you or your children is a possibility. Venus is ruling your ninth house of grandchildren. So some of you, as she's exalted and expanding in the second house, you may indeed find yourself getting a grandchild out of this, but look for soulmate grandchildren coming from the reincarnation of people in your family of origin, family system. That's an example. And Mercury is the ruler of the South Node that says, let go of the eighth house, release, surrender, and like take it down a notch, right? And Mercury is in your 12th house. And your 12th house is a house of spiritual liberation, and all the way to Buddhahood, all the way to Jesus walking on the water, all the way to Neo completely leaving the matrix. So the deepest liberation is the 12th house, or the most profound awakenings. Mercury is the dream god, dreams at night, spiritual awakenings through the dream realm. South Node deepening the letting go of the false sense of fictional self or identity. On the other hand, on a practical note, there can be a letting go regarding money that you make from foreign entities, foreign shores, and foreign lands. And the South Node in the eighth house can indicate a positive changes of home and property and land connected to a deep spiritual connection to another place and time, connected to perhaps some of you journeying or moving to foreign shores and foreign lands in the wake of this cycle, like in the 18 months of this cycle. Yeah. Mercury is so supportive of the letting go from the moksha to the moksha. So there's definitely a spiritual deepening in your life, Aquarius, but On a practical note, I make money like on PayPal and Stripe for my business, and this is where that money comes from, the 12th house. And Mercury loves it up here, but he's saying let go of the reliance of it on the way that money shows up as chunky money. If you are somebody who might be dealing with letting go of a marriage and spousal shared assets and resources, or South Node destined inheritances. So destined inheritance money coming to you, or destined fated money from spousal shared resources and assets can come. But the Southness is don't cling to that money. Don't rely on that money. You've got your own hustle. You've got your own expansion and growth. You're an agent of your own prosperity here. And I really say that in a kind way, because I mean, sure, you should accept your spousal support or your money from the end of a relationship or an inheritance. I'm not saying don't take that money. It's ridiculous, because fated money can come to you that way. But you see this is you. You are expanding your voice and vocation, and you are being extremely prosperous because you have an exalted Venus baked into the ingress chart of this new cycle. And Saturn gives you stable, lasting, destined change in the way you are financially well-resourced in this life. Some of you might find an increase in your self-esteem and an increase in your values and a change of your values towards higher love, compassion, unconditional love, mystical surrenders, etc. But it's a magical, enchanted expansion of the second house, unlike anything you've seen before. So that's what we have for us as the Aries. Aquarius, we already did the Pisces at the start of this video. I hope you watched that. And we're done. I've been recording probably for an hour or two, and I'm now going to go off and have, I don't know if it's a martini or it's a glass of wine or it's both. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Don't forget to check out the 2025 All Signs videos or join my Patreon community who gets this early access ad-free. Because I'm so busy teaching Sky Reader, they're getting this on Saturday, October 26th. It goes public on the 27th on YouTube. But normally they get stuff minimum of 3 days ahead of the curve, but they never have ads there. So for $5 a month, you don't want ads, you can come get the ad-free stuff as well. All right, don't forget to check out Otter Spirit. I really love their stuff. I cannot wait to show you the next bracelets that I ordered, but it's just because it's all very beautiful jewelry. Otter Spirit underneath in the description box. I have affiliate link with a discount code for people on my channel. And I am enchanted with their bracelet sets. And that's amethyst, rose, and moonstone. And they align with Aquarius, Libra, and other signs. And all of their sets for the astrological series are sophisticated. They tell you why they're picking it. So I'm ordering one it's got hematite in it and labradorite. And hopefully when it comes in the mail, I'll share it with you and you'll see what I'm talking about. Otter Spirit. I'm not making much on the affiliate link, guys. It's just that I think their stuff is great. And when I find great stuff I love, I share it with you guys. That's what I always do. All right. Bye. Have a great nodal cycle. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. Thank you.